A lot of B2B companies are in a tough position right now. You're losing deals to competitors that aren't better than you. A lot of times they're even worse. And your product is solid. Your specs are solid. You have a good sales team. They know their stuff. They know what they're doing. But your buyers keep going with the safe option or the cheapest option. Why is that? And here's what I've learned from working with dozens of B2B product companies. The problem is not your specs. The problem is not your product. It's not even your price. What it might be is the context in which your buyer is making that decision. And today I'm going to show you how changing that context without touching a single spec can completely flip the script on your sales numbers. And so let me ask you this. When your buyer is considering your proposal or your offer, what do you think they're comparing? Because they're not comparing product dimensions and weights and measures and things like that. What they're actually looking at is risk, what this might look like when they have to justify the decision to their superiors. How is this decision, how is this choice going to make me look? And this is what I call context. It is the framing around that decision. And it's not the thing itself. It's not the product itself. It is the framing around the product. And this is what matters more than anything. And so think about it this way. You can spend time and money trying to perfect your product, trying to cut costs, trying to increase the specs, trying to optimize your production. Or you can spend just a few hours changing the way the same exact product is perceived. Which one do you think is going to get you results faster? And here's the reality that almost nobody talks about. In B2B sales, the buyers do not make the decisions on the objective facts. They make decisions based on how those facts feel. And this is especially true for buyers that have to later justify their choices. They have to explain why they went with the more expensive product. They have to explain why they went with an option that feels a bit riskier. And if you pay attention around you, you can see some of these ideas in play, where the same exact product is sold in a different context and it feels different. For example, walking into an Apple store to buy the exact same products that you would buy at Best Buy, for example, just feels different. The Apple store feels more premium, and therefore people make decisions in that context, in the context of a premium environment and buying a premium product. The same concept applies to high-end restaurants. They sell these same exact ingredients as smaller kind of neighborhood type restaurants. However, the white tablecloth changes everything. The environment, the context in which this food is presented changes everything, changes the decision, changes how it feels, changes the choices that are made by the buyer. The same product in a different context is perceived differently. And so you're probably thinking, how exactly do you do this? Let me give you 5 specific context levers that you can pull right now to change the way your product is perceived. The first one is the language that you use. In order to elevate the way that your product is perceived, then you need to elevate the language in which you use to describe your product. And so instead of saying something like, we sell industrial adhesives, try to say something like, we sell critical bonding technology. It is the same product, but one sounds like a commodity and the other sounds strategic. The words literally change the status of what you're selling. Words like solutions moves the framing in the customer's mind from being just a product to being part of a larger vision. Another one is the comparisons that you draw. And a lot of businesses make the mistake of comparing their product to a competitor's product. While that may sound intuitive, it is also costing you sales, and it is a big mistake in most cases. Rather than compare your product to the competitor's product, a better way to do it would be to compare it with the missed opportunity of not buying your product, the risk of not solving the problem, the pain of remaining in the same spot that they are today. And so rather than saying that our product is 20% more efficient than this other product, you might say something like, our product reduces rework by 30%. It helps you finish your project faster, it saves you time, and it gives you more peace of mind. And now you just shifted the conversation around the same exact product from price to value, from cost to outcome. Another context lever is emotional framing. Remember, B2B buyers want to feel something. They want to feel proud of their choice. They want to feel secure in their decision. They want to feel confident that they're not going to get blamed if something goes wrong. And so instead of harping on the specs of the product that you're selling or saying the same things everyone says about, we sell quality product and things like that, you want to change the framing of that and say something like, our fittings have been used in buildings that are still standing for the last 40 years. And here's where you draw associations to either monuments or large projects or famous individuals that have used your product. So basically you're signaling that your product and your brand has been trusted by other individuals, by other companies, and by solid investments that are still standing to this day. And so now you have shifted from just selling a product to selling reputation, to selling longevity, to selling pride. And these are the kinds of emotions that get sales. Now, the fourth context lever is category labels. Sometimes you need to rename yourself completely to escape the one-on-one commodity type comparisons. You need to place yourself in a completely different category of one. And a smart way to do this would be to bundle your product with a consultation service. You're not just selling the product, you're selling a packaged solution. You're selling expertise. The product just happens to come with it. And by doing this, you shift your business from the category of vendor to partner. You're no longer selling a product, you are facilitating a transformation. And then last but not least is the outcome that you promise. While your competitors are talking about and advertising material outcomes, what you want to do is shift that conversation and advertise business outcomes. If you are selling to B2B clients, at the end of the day, they will connect everything to a business outcome. That is their goal. That is what they're responsible for, and that's what they're accountable for. And so you want to connect your product, however small it is, to a business outcome. And so you're not just supplying materials, you are facilitating a 20% reduction in lead times so that your clients always hit their deadlines and always complete their projects on time. And now you're not just competing on specs, you're now competing on business impacts. These are the kind of levers that get B2B buyers to choose your product and your brand. Even if you have objectively better products and better specs, all of that doesn't matter if you're having the wrong conversation entirely. This is the importance of the context in which you're selling your products. Context is extremely important because when buyers cannot tell the difference between you and the three other options, they default to safety. They default to price or bigger brand names. These are the things that are easy for them to justify. And so you don't need to keep adding features to your product or trying to optimize your production lines. It is easier to get results if you just change the context and the framing in which your buyer is comparing your products. Now, if this resonates with you and you would like help in figuring out how to position your specific product differently without changing anything about what you actually deliver, that's exactly what I help B2B companies with in my workshop. We'll work together to identify your context levers, to craft your new positioning, and to give you the exact language to use with your prospects. Check the link in the description to learn more and book a call with me.